What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today this is going to be my Q&A video. I recently posted on my community tab, just ask me some Flash, Arrowverse related questions. So yeah, I'm going to be answering those questions in today's video. And just really quick, I might not get through every single question in this video, but I will answer all the questions. I might make a part 2 to this video. But yeah, I'm hoping to get through all of them, so let's get started. So our first question today comes from Mike, and he asked, do you think we could get a Reverse Flash origin story this season? Now, what I'd have to say to that first is I really hope we do. I really hope we do, and I think just because Matt Letcher, who obviously plays the original Reverse Flash, and Eric Wallace, the showrunner, both said they wanted to do a Reverse Flash origin, but there's not a lot of episodes in season 9, so it could be tight. But I think they could make it work. They could dedicate like one episode to a Reverse Flash origin, or if they actually plan on bringing Matt Letcher Reverse Flash back as a villain for the Flash season 9, I think it could be sort of like Arrow season 7, where they had those flash forwards. I think they could do that with a Reverse Flash origin. They could flash forward to how he got his speed and all that, how he got connected to the negative speed force, all that stuff, while also still having him be a villain in the main storyline of the season. I think that could definitely work. So our next question comes from Everything Logan, who asks, who is your favorite Speedster? Now, I used to just say, the Reverse Flash, but now they kind of overuse the Tom Cavanaugh version, and I kind of don't like that version as much. So my answer now would be Matt Letcher's Reverse Flash, or Season 1 Tom Cavanaugh Reverse Flash. Either of those are great. So our next question comes from Isaiah, who asks, who is your least favorite character in the entire Arrowverse? Now, before the Flash season 7 and 8, I would have said it would be Aminette Black, because she was an absolutely terrible character. But now I have to say it's either Cecile or Allegra. They have turned into both just annoying, terrible characters. And I really hope they, just aren't in as much of the Flash season 9 as they were in the Flash season 8. So yeah, I'd have to say either Cecile or Allegra. Next up is a question from Fireboy86, who says, do you think Arrow will come back? Now, if you're talking about the show, no, I do not think Arrow as in the show will come back. But, the character, the Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, I think it's possible he could return for the Flash season 9. Maybe they somehow bring him on Superman and Lois or Stargirl, who knows. But I think the biggest possibility of him returning is on the Flash season 9, maybe as a hallucination or something like that. I think that's definitely possible. The next question comes from Mr. Cowboy, who asks, have you watched any Marvel shows or movies? The answer to that is yes, I have. I don't really watch any of the shows because, I tried watching a couple of them, just like the first couple of episodes, and I really wasn't a huge fan of those Marvel TV shows. But I believe I've watched all the MCU movies. I'm pretty sure. I might be forgetting about a couple, but I think I've watched them all. So yeah, there you go. Our next question comes from Jared, who asks, who is your favorite version of Barry? Now, there are actually, thinking about it, there are a lot of versions of Barry. There's Savitar, there's, just regular Barry, there's DCEU Barry, there's Earth 90 Barry, there's a lot of them. And I have to say, obviously, I think it's Barry played by Grant Gustin, but if we're going to go more in-depth, I'd say probably season 6 Barry, right before Crisis on Infinite Earths, because, after that, he kind of was, not the main character of the show anymore, but, before that, I think he was, really in tune with his abilities, he was, really powerful, and it really showed, so I think that season 6, right before Crisis version of Barry, I think is probably my favorite version of him. Our next question comes from Domvold, who asks, who do you think is going to be the new negative Avatar? Why? And do you think they will end season 9 with Nora's birth and explore Reverse Flash origin? Now, I already explained the part about Reverse Flash origin. I think it could possibly happen. I'd really like to see that. But in terms of who do I think is going to be the new negative Avatar? Now, even though at the end of season 8, they presumably teased Cobalt Blue as a new negative Avatar, I've always had this theory that it might not even have anything to do with Cobalt Blue and the negative Speed Force. My theory has always been that the negative Speed Force would choose Bloodwork, and then maybe Bloodwork could become Red Death or something along those lines. We do know that Bloodwork is also presumed to return because of those comics that teased him escaping, and then that said continued in the Flash season 9. So yeah, I think that's definitely possible. The end of season 8 cliffhanger could have nothing to do with Cobalt Blue and just affect Bloodwork instead. And yeah, the part about Nora's birth, I think that's definitely going to happen in season 9 because it kind of has to happen because she mentioned how old she was in like season 7. I forgot how old she said, but she is from 2049. So if you do the math, I think her being born in 2023 is what makes sense. So I think they kind of have to say that Nora will be born. Maybe that's an end of season thing. Maybe it's like the start of the season. We find out Iris is pregnant, something like that. I think that should happen in season 9. Our next question comes from Ambrose, who asks, what would you find a happy ending, a fitting ending for the Flash that doesn't involve ridding his powers, depower the universe, or becoming the Speed Force itself? Now, here's what I think could happen here. So I know you said, like, don't talk about, him becoming the Speed Force, anything like that. But I think what they could do and what I think would be really cool is if they somehow find a way to say that they, still have to go back to that night where, Barry's mother was murdered. And then, Barry would, be erased from existence somehow. And then I think he could become the very lightning bolt that struck himself in the first place, something like that. Now, yeah, like you said, Bart still has to be born in like, 2027 or whatever. So I think that's definitely an issue there for how is that even possible? Barry becoming the lightning that, struck himself in the first place. Why? Because he still has to, exist for Bart to, be born. So what I think could happen there is I think they could just go back to, the Crisis on Infinite Earths comics, the original Crisis newspaper that we saw in The Flash season 1 and like up to season 5. I think they could say that newspaper still exists. And what happens in the comics is Barry, he quote unquote dies in this crisis, but then eventually he appears later as alive. He was just stuck in the Speed Force the whole time. So I think something like that could happen, like maybe 2023, Barry goes missing, but then, even while he's missing, Iris somehow finds out that he will return in 2027, and then they'll have Bart, something like that. I think that could definitely make sense. I think they could definitely say that in order for them to still have a fitting ending of Barry vanishing in a crisis, but also him returning. So Barry and Iris having Bart still makes sense. Hopefully I answered your question all right there. But yeah, that's what I would like to happen toward the end of the show. Our next question comes from Flaro Spider, who says, how would you feel if the writers were so determined to have Reverse Flash be the main antagonist of the show to the point where they made a retcon that all the main villains were actually Thawne in other forms just to ruin Barry's life? I think that would be a little bit ridiculous, and I don't think they will do that because, there's obviously tons of different comic book characters that fans love. But, I think Thawne could impersonate some more people in season 9. Obviously, he has that face-changing technology, so we could see that happen as well. This next question comes from Brandon, who asks, now that Superman and Lois is set in a different universe, do you think we'll see a doppelganger versions of characters on The Flash? That is a very interesting one. I think it's definitely possible. We've presumably now seen a doppelganger version of Diggle on Superman and Lois. So I don't see why you can't, throw other characters in there. Maybe the Barry Allen of that Earth isn't the Flash, something like that. Maybe he's just a normal CSI, something along those lines. I think they could, somehow incorporate that into Superman and Lois. They could also just, bring in some other Flash characters like Iris or, who knows. I think, another character that I think could be on Superman and Lois is a version of Wells, like Harrison Wells. Obviously, there were at least so many different versions of him in the multiverse. So who knows? Maybe there's even more of them we find out in season 9, and then that version might appear on Superman and Lois. I think that would be pretty cool to see. But yeah, I think it's definitely possible for other Flash characters to somehow appear on Superman and Lois. Our next question comes from this person. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but they asked, if Zoom would have returned in season 9, how would it be? Now, I think this is a really interesting question. First of all, because, Zoom is from Earth 2, and now we know that since Crisis on Infinite Earths, Earth 2 is completely different. I think they could say that Zoom is simply just still alive and he's just locked in Argus or something like that, and that's how they could have him return and then, eventually destroy Central City with Godspeed, like that was teased in season 8. I think that would be really cool if we ended up seeing something like that. So that's, I think, the easiest way, at least, for Zoom to return in season 9. And our final question for this video is another one from Flaro Spider, who asks, are you still gonna make videos on this channel after the Arrowverse is over? And yes, I do still plan on making videos on this channel. Of course, I'm still gonna be making Superman and Lois videos after the Flash is done. I might try to make some more Stargirl videos. You guys didn't exactly like my Stargirl videos when I made them a year and a half ago or so. So I might try and do that. I do plan on making some more DC movie videos. I know I haven't made a lot of those, but you know, after the Flash season 9 is done, I think I'll, you know, start to make some more of those. But yeah, the rest of your questions, I will get to those. I promise they will be in the next video. I'm gonna make a part 2 to this, so make sure you guys are on the lookout for that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.